What's up, YouTube? We're going to be doing a deck profile today for Alice. People probably know this is Alice Sages because it's, in my opinion, the best way to run this ruler, in my opinion. But we'll just go ahead and jump straight into deck profile. So those of you who don't know what Alice does, she can deactivate for any number of will, and you may not pay 0, and then when she deactivates, she flips over into Alice the Drifter in the World. On this side, depending on which colors you paid, she gets different effects. So as white, you gain 1,000. Blue, you draw a card. Black, your opponent discards a card. Red, you deal 1,000 to a Resonator. And then green, you get to destroy an addition. And then if you paid all the attributes and then used the Mujar Stone, she gains flying and swiftness to end the turn. But in this deck, we'll only be focusing on red, white, and black, because the deck is only red, white, and black. For the magic stones, it'll be 4 magic stone of Scorched Bales, 3 magic stone of Heat Ray, and 3 magic stone of Heaven Rift. I did this to give me a general spread layout of targets for 6 whites, 7 black, and 7 red. So the deck is primarily heavily red and black with splashes of white cards. That's the best lineup I thought of. So for the Resonators, it'll be 3 copies of Kaguya, the Tail of the Bamboo Cutter. She's used to give your sages counters. She's a good first turn play, and she has a cool effect to remove 3 knowledge counters from any number of Resonators I control to remove a target Resonator from the game. So she's just a really good solid 1-drop. Play 4 copies of Milos, the Invisible Ghostly Flame. He is one of your main win conditions of the deck. His effect is when he's casted, like all 6 sages that are new, he'll gain a knowledge counter, and then for every time you play another sage on the field, he'll gain a counter. And his effect is you remove a knowledge counter from him, and he can deal 300 to a player or Resonator. So it's really good if you can keep stacking these on the field, and if your opponent can't get an answer to them, then that's a lot of damage they'll be taking. And that can add up really, really quickly. I have lost to this many times. Play 4 copies of Zero, the Magus of Null. She's also one of the key cards of the deck, because she helps control your opponent's board presence while simultaneously building yours. She's one of the old sages, so I'll explain what she does really quick. When she's casted, she has quick cast, so she can be played as instant, and she makes all your opponent's Resonators when she comes in. They all get -200, and they'll all lose flying. So she's really good to cast as your opponent enters combat, and you can just flash her in if they have something that's flying and then block it, because she's the only card in the deck that can deal with flying on a consistent basis. 3 copies of Zero, the Flashing Mage Warrior. This is the new Zero. She has quick cast like the other one, and when she enters, get a knowledge counter, and then whenever you play another one, she'll get a knowledge counter, and then she can remove a knowledge counter from herself to prevent the next 300 damage that would be dealt to a target Resonator this turn. So if she has 1, we'll say, and you have 0 on the field, and they Thunder this one, you can remove a counter from this one, and then prevent 300 dealt to her. So technically she'll only take 200 from the Thunder and she'll live. So it's really good to help protect your sages, because the deck is really fragile because it doesn't play green. So this is basically like you running green in the deck, to me. But that's just my opinion. Moving on, we have only 2, Seth the Arbiter. He's a really solid card, but the only reason we run him in this deck is because we have a lot of spot removal, and we'll be killing a lot of our opponent's Resonators really quickly. And there's also some discard power in this deck with Alice's black and then the spirals. What he does is every time your opponent discards a card, you'll draw a card, and then when one of your opponent's Resonators is put into a graveyard whenever a Resonator is put into a graveyard from your opponent's field, put target Resonator from my graveyard into my hand. So I have him on the field. Let's say I swing with 0. We'll say she dies, and then we'll trade, and then whenever she dies, we'll trigger Seth, and we'll put the 0 back in my hand. So he works really good with all the cards in the deck that have quick cast. So you can add them back into your hand and be able to flash them in, on your opponent's turn, so he's really good. Only 2, Gruesome Ballista, the Keeper of Magic Stones. In my opinion, my favorite sage of all of them. The best one, in my opinion. Enter, get a knowledge counter. When one enters, get a knowledge counter. Remove a knowledge counter from this card. Target resonator gets -0, -4 until end of the turn. That is very powerful, because let's say they have a Gretel or a Priest on the field. Play him, get a counter, remove the counter, neg it by 4, it dies. Really good for spot removal, and really good for opening plays for your Thunders. Also kills Moosh Dart. If they play Moosh Dart, you can neg it by 4, Thunder it. She dies. Only one Blazer the Awakener. He's in here for only one reason. I'll tell you the combo later. Not that combo, it's just a part of the deck. He comes in, he's a 1200, 800, 5-drop. Swiftness, so he can attack and use his tap ability when he comes in. And then he, whenever he deals, whenever a Resonator that was dealt damage by these cards, but the graveyard recover this card, it only triggers once a turn. So he hits a card, and if they block, or if you're attacking it or something, and he kills it, and he happens to survive, he'll stand back up again, and he'll attack. For those of you who play Vanguard, we have come to know him as a Dragonic Overlord 2.0. He had a similar effect of attacking and restanding. It's really good. Then he has an effect to pay 1 Fire Will, and he'll get first strike into another turn. So that makes his effect really powerful. And for the last of the Resonators, just 1 Gilderoy. We do play red in this deck, so we can hard cast him if we have to. But the point of him is to be able to be casted with a spell that I'll later show you. He has Flying, Swiftness. He gets +200, +0 for each magic stone we control that has red in it. And then continuous, when he dies, I can eat 3 of my stones and then bring him back to the field. Which we don't use that effect really much. He's more of just a big beater to finish games off. Moving on to the spells, we play 4 copies of Thunder, Spot Removal, 500 Direct, 2 Stoning Death, Spot Removal, Demon Flame, more Spot Removal. This deck is a lot of Spot Removal. 3 Crown Punishment. This card's mainly to deal with Bahamut and Jade Rulers that we can't handle, because since we don't play Mephistopheles in this deck, this is usually used to handle Jade Rulers, but it can be used to handle Resonators too that you can't deal with. 3 copies of Dream of Juliet. This card became so much better with Sages because they get the effects regardless of how the other ones enter the field. So if they're sitting on the field and one enters, the one that's already on the field will get the counters. So if you look at this, you can blink one out and bring it back in, and then it will give counters to the other ones that are already on the field. So that's really, really strong with this. 3 copies of Spiral Despair. This card is just used to get rid of your opponent's hand, force them to get rid of plays that they wanted to make, and helps you also get pluses off your Seth the Arbiters. A good little tech in the deck is Book of Genesis. This card is used to fish out 1 card of each cost from your deck for the games. So basically what this card does when you play it, at the beginning of your main phase, it'll get a counter on it, and then at the beginning of your main phase, it also triggers. You can search your deck for any card that's cost equal to the number of counters on this card and play it for free. So with this, you go turn 1, play it, next turn get Kaguya, next turn get My List, next turn get a 3-drop, 4-drop, 5-drop, 6-drop, and then once it gets to 6, it gets counters, but it can't get any more Resonators. So by the time you get to 6, you usually should have won by now, because the turn before you'll play Blazer, and then you'll play Gilderoy, and then it's too much overwhelming them to win, because you're getting 2 main Resonators at once. And the last card is 1 Necronomicon. Simple. I usually play it in everything that's black. So it just recurs all your cards in the graveyard. And it works really good with the Sages, because once it's like later in the game, if the game goes too long, and your grave is just loaded with nothing but Sages, you just start slapping them on the board, like play a My List, play another one, and then he'll get a counter, and then you play 0 and then do get counters, and helps you build up your counters really, really huge, really fast. So that is it for this deck profile. I believe this is my first one for my channel, but I will be doing a whole lot more. This is a deck that I came up with myself with a shell from the one that was in Rhode Island, I believe. It got top 8. I think it got 8th place. This deck is really powerful. I would recommend it in a different format where Bahamut isn't running rampant. But I will be posting more deck profiles to come. Probably one later on today, I'm not sure yet. But thanks for watching. and please subscribe, and subscribe to my buddy, his name is Alexander on YouTube. He's known as Vegan on Facebook. Shout out to him. I told him I'd shout out. I have to make an Alexander profile for him later, because he said it'd be really cool, and that's the next profile I'm going to do, is Alexander. So, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you all later, YouTube.